Street gospel, light of the tempo. Sword swing, killer live from the ghetto. The hood messenger, let them know hell's close. Black burial, the devil in a black cloak.
Yo, what is up? Welcome to the Street Gospel Podcast. I'm your host, Dave One, and this is episode number... Yo, Cam, what episode is this?
Episode number 77.
Episode number 77. If you saw our last episode, we had Pastor Israel Campbell from Flourishing Church in Gardena. Definitely a good one, man. A good brother, good story. You know, I was telling your mother about this. So I think sometimes when people look at the picture that we post, they kind of judge right off the bat, right? So then right away. But Israel Campbell was hood. I mean, he grew up like tough, and a lot of things that happened to him was pretty jacked up. So if you haven't seen that podcast, check out the last podcast, episode 76, with Israel Campbell. Definitely, man, inspiring. Dude had like so many things happen to him, and he just comes out with a smile every time. If you're struggling out there, check out that podcast, man. It's definitely a good one. But we got to get down to business here. We got a guest here, and I've been following him for a minute, and got to play a little music here. I thought I'd put a little gangster, G-Funk, West Coast, it's probably after your time, but still a little bit, West Coast flavor. But this guy right here, he's a believer, he's a husband, a father. He is a pro referee for boxing and MMA. He has his own podcast. Him and his wife get on the podcast. They talk about marriage. They talk about relationships. He's representing for Christ. He represents his old neighborhood. We'll talk a little bit about that. But he's a proud guy from the San Gabriel Valley, La Puente, Bassett area. Definitely God changed his life. But he's here to tell his story, man. We're here to get into it. I want to welcome to the Street Gospel Podcast, Mr. Ray Popeye Corona.
Hey,
What's up, brother?
How you doing, brother? Thank you for having me, man.
Thanks for coming through, man. I think that was probably one of the shortest drives. You know what I mean?
Just down the street, exactly.
Because we get people from all over the place, man. And sometimes I feel bad sometimes because people are like, man, I didn't realize it was that far. And then I go,
especially with the gas prices on.
Especially with the gas prices, man. And so I was like, all right, I think he's pretty local. I know where his church is at. I know where he goes to church at, and I hope he can come through. And I was sending some DMs here and there, and finally caught you on a good day, and hit me up right away, man. So I appreciate you coming through.
Oh, thank you for having me, brother.
So you, La Puente, Bassett.
I prefer to say Bassett.
Right. Okay. So I was going to ask you about that. So it's funny. It's funny that you say that because
That's all kidding aside. Bro.
No, but that's specific.
We're Bassett in the city of La Puente.
Right. But you got to be specific, right? Because there's some politics involved in there. I have friends the same way. Like they're from neighborhood, and it's like, no, we're not from the city. This is our neighborhood. This is what it's called, right? So you grew up in the Bassett area, man.
Yes.
In the 70s, right?
Yes.
So this is it's still not the greatest area. It's still a rough area. That whole area, I'm pretty familiar in that area. Baldwin Park, Almani. Used to attend church in Almani for a long time. I have a lot of friends there. But Baldwin Park, La Puente, Bassett, all that area is pretty rough, man. How did you grow up?
Like I always say, I don't have blood brothers, but we grew up in the same household of my cousins, so I call them my brothers. But they were all from the neighborhood, Bassett. So, we all grew up together, pretty much.
Yeah. Is it, were you, I would say, were you grandfathered into the neighborhood? Like you didn't have no choice? Like this is this life?
It was just, it didn't even cross my mind. It was just, it just happened, Because they were older, so they were from the neighborhood already, boxing already. So it's just like the gym. I grew up in the gym,
Because my parents always said this when they grew up in the neighborhood, the Florence area. They always said that they never really went outside their neighborhood, so they didn't really know what was beyond their neighborhood. It was just like their neighborhood. Maybe they take a drive to the beach every now and then, But for the most part, like you just stood in your neighborhood. You didn't go outside of your neighborhood.
Well, I mean, for boxing, we did. We drive to Almani. That's how I met Ben Lira and Almani. You know, so we'd go to the other gyms. But that, yeah, as far as that, you know, I knew no other life but that. You know,
it's crazy because the that San Gabriel Valley, it's not big.
No,
but
it's not.
But if you look at that area right there, there's a lot of the fight game, particularly boxing, is big there. There was a lot of gyms in that area, and there's a lot of fighters that come out. We were talking about Arnold Barbosa coming out of that area and those guys, but there's a lot of fighters. What do you think that is?
I don't know. You know, it seems like back in the 70s, the ghetto, the barrios, they had more of the gyms than downtown LA. I mean, they had Main Street Gym in downtown LA and the old county jail as well, but most of the gyms were like El Mani, Bassett, Puente. They even had a gym in Baldwin Park. But yeah, there was a few gyms. I don't know how it just came about, but back in the 70s, more of the ghetto kids were more into the fighting. I would think, you know. That's where I was raised. So
did you get into boxing to learn how to box, or did you get into boxing to learn how to fight in the neighborhood?
Well, at first it was to fight, but then when I tried boxing, that didn't work out. I wasn't too good, you know what I mean? Maybe that's why I'm a referee now, you know what I mean?
But in those days, I mean, it was mostly about fighting. I mean, the neighborhood nowadays, I mean, it's shooting, unfortunately, getting jumped, things like that. But back in those days, it was fighting, right?
Yeah, I mean, just like when people ask me now, how do you think of today? Well, in my opinion, my days were tougher. Just these days are crazier.
Or more dangerous, right?
Yeah, it's more dangerous where back in my days, you know, you'd get off the car to fight and it was maybe 50-50 chance and maybe even lesser of a chance somebody pull out a gun. It was mostly just bats, knives, chains, you know, just ugliness, but it was still fighting, you know, hand-to-hand combat. And you had to know how to fight, you know what I mean? You had to know how to fight. And boxing definitely helped you in the street, you know?
Is for those out there, I know the answer to this. But when you learn how to box and when you learn how to street fight, there's a difference there, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, because I think
like in Happy Days. Remember Happy Days? Richie Cunningham told his dad, "Hey, I want you to teach me how to fight." And the dad said, "Hey, I taught you how to box." He goes, "But Dad, nobody carries boxing gloves." So with that said, it is a big difference, you know.
Yeah. There's
no rules in the street, obviously, but again, if it's a one-on-one combat, the boxer, if he's good, he's gonna overcome. You know,
you have to have some sort of skill.
Yeah, you got to have some kind of skill.
Yeah, I think I was talking to a friend of mine, and we were talking. I do jiu-jitsu, so we were talking about that, and we were laughing because I think somebody sent us a video, and so the guy's, you know, he has this dude in an armbar, and the guy taps. It's a street fight.
Oh, okay.
Right, and the guy taps, and the guy let him go, and so we were kind of cracking up about that. It was like, yeah, I ain't going for the tap.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
I'm going to break the arm and then take off and leave.
Yeah, that's right.
So there's no tapping out like in the street fight. I think a lot of people think like you know, if I go to the boxing gym, which is good, if I go to the Muay Thai gym or if I do jiu-jitsu, that I'm ready to get down with anybody in the street. But in reality, there's no rules in the street, right? I mean, you pick up a brick, you do. People are doing crazy stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but any kind of, I guess, skill helps. But like you say, there's no rules, bro. And in the street, it can get ugly, you know, get real ugly.
Yeah, I think a lot of parents always ask me, like, you know, hey, my kid should, you know, what should I do? And I always tell them, hey, send them somewhere. Teach them something so they can defend themselves, you know. And it's not even to, I think people, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, I always say, you learn how to fight so you don't have to fight.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And everybody looks at me strange about that. They kind of give me side eye, and I go, it's when you don't know how to fight, you feel like you have to prove something.
Exactly.
Right? When you can fight, you just kind of go, all right, dog, I'm out. And you just split, right?
Yeah.
That makes sense?
No, it does. I mean, when you don't know how to fight, again, you tend to be loud and, you know, real talkative and, you know, be loud and make a big front. But when you do know how to fight, you pretty much say, bro, I don't want this. I'm going to walk away.
Yeah.
Or even if you don't have to say that, you just walk away. But If it happens, it happens. If it comes your way, you do what you got to do. And I did another podcast, and they said, what do you think about kids getting into gym? And my personal opinion, every father should teach his child to defend himself at a young age. So when they get older, or even as they're training, even in fear,
right,
they will, whatever they're being taught, they'll do,
Right.
And, we live in an ugly world, bro. We live in an ugly world, and we need to defend ourselves. Even as Christians, I have 5 sons, 2 daughters, and I taught them all to defend themselves. And, you're not to put hands on me, even though I'm a Christian, walk away at all costs, but
yeah.
you're not going to put hands on me.
Yeah. So the religious people will tell you, turn the other cheek, brother. And, and do all that. But I mean, listen, if I get hit or somebody's trying to hurt me or hurt my family, it's on.
That's right.
I think people get the wrong.
It even says that in our Bible, man. A man that doesn't defend his family is worthless.
Right. And I tell people this all the time because I'm a big gun advocate too. And I tell people this, they're like, well, what's up, brother? You're trying to be a Christian and you're into fighting and you're into guns. And I always tell them, I'm like, look, Peter had a sword on him. That's and the Lord told him, grab the sword. He didn't say grab 15 swords. He knew that the roads they had to go on were going to be dangerous.
That's right.
Now Peter had the sword. He pulled it out. He was wrong, and the Lord rebuked him. But there was a reason why the Lord told him, hey, grab a sword.
Not the time yet.
Yeah, not the time. Like, this is my time. This is what's supposed to happen. But leading up to that time, I think the Lord was probably like, hey, it can happen on the road there, so be ready. But I don't think there's nothing wrong with being ready and having some sort of skill, whether it's boxing, Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, just something that will say, I can protect my family. Because a lot of young people nowadays don't even know the basics.
I mean, it's crazy that you say that. I remember one time I came out of the gym, this is a few years back, and I seen a bunch of little cholitos outside. I'm like, wait, why don't you guys come in? I'm trying to encourage them to come into the gym. So I figure, hey, in case you guys have to get busy in the street, you learn how to fight. And one of the youngsters said, fight? I'll just get a gun, man. It really kind of broke my heart. And the sad part about it, years later, that kid got shot 7 times.
Wow.
That one kid that said that. He lived, though. But, this is why I say nowadays a kid's more quick to pick up a gun than to handle it from the shoulders,
Which is crazy. I think I feel bad for these youth because a lot of them are just out of fear they grab the gun.
Yeah.
Because I think even if they do fight, they feel like that person's going to come back again. And there's I'm sure in your day it was like we got down, shake hands,
That's right.
we go our separate ways.
Yeah.
Right?
A lot of times.
I think now it's kind of like they're coming back. So they're going to come back and want to do something a little bit more dangerous. I think because maybe it's social media. You know what I mean? And you get, especially if you get dropped and it's filmed, right? And then it's on, right? I saw.
At the same time, I think it's the way the kids are being raised nowadays as well. I mean, just the little league where I live, Rialto, they give everybody a trophy there. Everybody, losing team and winning team. You know what I mean? Same size. Problem. I mean, what are you teaching that child?
That everybody wins.
And you know what? To be a strong leader, to be a strong man, even a female, you got to know how it is to lose,
Yeah.
And when all these kids are being treated the same way, equal, and that can go on to other issues too, but then they grow up, they go get a job, and the boss tells them, hey, no, or you're fired. They're like, what?
Yeah.
And now they want to come back and hurt everybody in the room.
They don't never have no disappointment, and they don't know how to deal with disappointment or deal with a loss. Right?
Exactly.
Some of the best lessons are through losses.
That's right.
You lose something, you're like, man, either you're gonna get better, or train harder.
That's right.
Or something. There's something to be learned from every loss, But if you're a winner for everything, what's gonna happen when you finally take that L as an adult? You're not gonna be able to take it.
I always clown. I've had a lot of street fights, but I probably lost more than I've won. Because man, it just. And this is what I think matured me, and as I got older and said, "Hey, you got to chill out, man. You're losing too much," So It's like it chilled out because for a while there, I was like, especially when I got a youth authority, I was real like, I was just acting stupid, you know?
Yeah.
And I finally got chin checked and like, wow, I'm not as tough as I thought I was, you know?
It's are you one of the guys that will fight anybody back in your day? Like, see, I hate those dudes because those dudes, you're gonna have to put them down all the way down. Like, there's something about those guys that are just like, they don't care. I don't know what's the makeup, the way they're built.
Well, it kind of depends who it was as well. You know, if it was an enemy, you know, you're gonna have to take me down, bro. I'm not gonna give in, you know. But if it was just something in the street, but then again, thank God I didn't lose any of those. It was when I fought an enemy, you know, they just can't lose, bro. You can't lose. And when I did lose, it really, you know, struggled, man. I struggled, bro.
You remember the losses more than the wins, right?
Yes.
So when did you first start boxing?
Oh, probably 8 or 9 years old.
Who took you to the gym?
My brothers.
They took you to the gym.
And brother Willie and Peter.
Were they older?
Yes.
So were you getting beat up by them?
Oh, my brothers weren't really bullies, but you know, my brother Willie was kind of like a nut in the family, and he would just straight out say, if somebody messes with you, you better fight back or you're gonna get it from me, you know. So that's the way we were raised, and the same with my 2 younger ones. You know, I told them the same thing, you know, but we didn't get really bullied, you know. But I've been bullied before, and that's another thing. I'm not saying bullying is right, but you know what? It builds character.
Yeah. When
somebody bullies you and you fight back, in my opinion, most of the time bullies don't look for fights; they look for victims. So when you put a stop to it, win or lose, they tend to like even want to be your friends the next day.
Right.
Now, mind you, if there's 2 or 3 of them, all right, somebody's got to butt in, hey, stop. But it's a one-on-one, that builds character, man.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, the bully problem in school is horrible.
Yes.
But there's only one way to stop that.
That's right.
Right? If you put the stop to it where this kid knows how to defend himself, there ain't going to be very many bullies anymore.
That's right.
So I think that's true. That's a great point. So you go to the gym, you start training, and the gym didn't keep you out of trouble, right?
No.
When did you start getting into a little bit of trouble?
Well, I mean, that goes to my testimony. I had my mom was, may she rest in peace. She's in heaven now. She was a Christian, but she was very promiscuous, and I just seen stuff that a little boy don't need to see, you know. But anyways, when she finally passed, which is 3 years ago, she was 91 years old.
Wow.
She made peace with me, and it surprised me. Very prideful woman. On her deathbed, my wife, I love Arlene, my wife. You know, she kept saying, "You got to visit your mom," because I was totally out of touch with my mom. I wouldn't visit her or nothing like that. But anyways, she was dying, natural causes, 91 years old. So I went to her deathbed, and you know, I tried to act like nothing, and she was literally like a skeleton, and she just said, "Hey, Mio, I just want to tell you, I'm sorry for being a bad mom, you know." And you don't know, I was already serving God at the time, and you don't know how much that lifted, you know, it just made peace in my heart. And I told her too, you know, I'm sorry, Mom, for being a bad son, you know. But with that, growing up, seeing that stuff I shouldn't seen, her being with men, it just, you know what I mean? So, you know, I took it out in the street, and then seeing my brothers fighting in the street. And mind you, in the 70s, there was a lot of tough families in Bassett, but mine was one of them. And my brother Willie was a notorious street fighter, and so my brother Peter followed his steps. I tried to follow his steps, but I had a little bit more losses than them, you know. But I think now, and this is to be humble, you know, 20 years ago I would have been bragging, but now I'm just saying it wasn't that I was a good fighter. It wasn't that I was a good fighter. It was just my willingness to fight.
Yeah, see, that's the thing.
Where,
yeah.
I mean, sometimes guys would, you know, like, "Hey, Popeye, come on, chill out, man." You
know,
even
those
though
are
they
the
knew,
guys. Those
even
are the
though
guys
they
that I
knew,
hate.
like, "I'll touch you up, Ray," but like, stop, bro. I don't want to fight with you,
right?
And that's just the way it was, you know. So fighting got into more trouble. Getting into the barrio, I got into Bassett at 12 years old. So the first day that we got jumped in, we had to go to the other side. You know, I won't mention names because I don't want to be disrespectful, but we had to go to the other side and, you know, fight. And that's exactly what we did. And because I won that one, it just set a fire under me, you know.
Man. So was the way, the things that you saw from your mother and the way she treated you, what did that fuel some fire for the neighborhood and just for maybe even violence?
Yeah, it just again, she was promiscuous, and I seen stuff that a little boy shouldn't see, and it hurt me. And then after, she'd come out and beat us and tell us, I got to do this because of you guys. And she even treated my older sister worse than me, So, it does things to you, And I found the neighborhood, being amongst the homeboys, the same story. I feel like their brotherhood because my brothers were from the neighborhood. It just was a big fun group, you know what I mean? So, and from there came boys' home, juvenile hall, youth authority, and then prison. And it just it wasn't until I got right with God that I look back, I seen what was fueling all that,
Did you ever find out what maybe happened to your mother that made her that way? Like later, like as you get older, you kind of learn things about your parents, and you're like, wow, like that was rough.
You know what? Looking back now, I think she was just trying to survive and feed us, and she was a very attractive, beautiful woman. So she used that to her advantage, but she had issues, obviously, and she'd go from one relationship to the other. I think she was married 5-6 times, not to mention the boyfriends between the time. And she used, that lifestyle to feed us. And this is where I think this is why she'd come out and she'd feel ashamed and start beating on us. It's because of you guys I have to do this. So she was just trying to feed us. And that's what happened. I remember one time she beat me so bad. And mind you, in the 70s, you could beat your kid in the market and nobody would do nothing.
Right.
Your neighbor can whip you for being disrespectful, and another mom would say, all right, you had it coming. So she had whipped me and beat me so bad, and I was already like in kindergarten because I told one of the guys she was with, he was playing around with me, and I told him, and he said, hey, that's enough, I don't want to play no more. And I told him, my mom's other boyfriend's nicer than you. And when she came home, man, he told her and left, and she beat me senseless, bro. And then had the audacity to send me to school the next day. So when I went to school, all I remember, the police bringing me to the office, and they took me away.
Wow.
And looking back again, she must have beat me bad, bro, because back in those days, again, you could beat your kid and nobody would say nothing.
Right.
So for them to take me in the 70s, I go, man, she must have really whooped me bad, And she always made it feel like it was our fault. And maybe it was, that I shouldn't have said that, but you don't beat a child like that, And the sad part about it, when they were taking me away, I was crying, and she didn't even bat an eye. She just looked at me like, that's just the way it is,
That's rough, man.
Yeah.
I think. Do you have peace with that now?
Yeah, I do.
Because I talk to people, and sometimes that's all they wanted at the end. You know what I mean? And your mother was 90, and passed away, but that sorry at least gave you a little bit of closure. Would you say?
A lot of closure, because again, prior, I had just called when I first became a Christian. I'm 60 now. I first became I would like to think walking right with God. I haven't arrived yet, and I never will until I see God. But I really got down on my knees when I was 45, and after that, must have been 10 years. I would call my mom maybe once a year because she was very prideful, very, I'm not going to apologize for nothing. And I really wasn't looking for an apology. But anyways, when she was on her deathbed, my wife kept saying, hey, you're a Christian. You need to go see her. You need to make peace with her. I go, she's not going to make peace with me. She goes, well, it don't matter what she does. It matters what you do. Mm-hmm. So when I went, again, it just surprised me that she even said that. Mijo, I'm sorry for being a bad mom. She never apologized to me or my sisters, So yeah, it made 100%. It just took all that hatred and anger, and I thank God, that she made peace with me. And again, I made peace with her because I wasn't a saint either, And one time her thing was controlling, and I was already 5'10" when I was in the 7th grade, and I had just got out of camp, and I came back to school, and she told me, hey, when you get home out of school, you come straight home. So she couldn't physically beat me no more, because I was just too big, But anyways, I was walking home with like 2 homeboys and like 15 girls. It was a lot of girls, And at that age, you're trying to impress and everything. I just
trying to be cool, man.
Trying to be cool, And I just got out of camp, so I was amongst the homeboys. I was one of the main guys. So I'm walking home, and I knew my mom told me to come home, so she comes driving up. She gets out of the car, bro, and she sees me in front of all my friends and the girls. She gets out and starts whipping me, man. I mean, just whipping me in the street. Man. And you know what? It hurted, but because I had to be cool, I just giggled. And the more I giggled, the more she whipped me. She whipped me. And you know what? It wasn't the whipping. It was the embarrassment. I took that to heart, bro. I took that to heart. But being a single mom, that's the way she treated me and my sisters and even my cousins, because that's how she controlled us, divide and conquer. You tell me where he's at, you tell me where she's at, and that's how it is. So looking back now, that was her ways, But embarrassing me really, it took something, And after that, I kind of just like that much more. I stood away from her,
Did you think that everybody life was like that? Because I talk to people and they're like they might go visit like a friend's house and they see like a mom, a dad, they're having dinner, and it's like, wait, this is how people really live. This the Brady Bunch is real. You know what I mean? Like, what's going on? Did you think that was normal?
My side?
Yeah.
I knew some of my friends got hit too, but they had moms and dads, But I knew it wasn't right what she was doing. I knew it wasn't right what she was doing, but I knew families that were good, and I knew some families that were just as bad, Because again, in the 70s, I'm even older than you, brother. In the 70s, ask your dad. You could literally slap your child in the market or spank them, and nobody would give it a second thought.
Oh yeah, I was that kid. No, I'm just kidding.
There you go.
Well, we're a lot closer than you think. If we, but yeah, you would probably be in the middle between my dad and me. I'm 49.
Still youngster, bro.
Yeah, look at this guy, man. You were still fighting when you were 49 in the street.
That's right.
Looking for a fight.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's crazy because when you think about parents, me and my wife always talk about this. Like and I tell my kids, what you don't like about me, then you change it for your kids. And right. I've tried to do my best. We've been believers our whole life, and so. But I do remember my dad, in the early years in the neighborhood doing things, and family members that were like that, and they thankfully came to the Lord, But their life, I look at their life, and I was like, as I get older, and I'm like, man, they grew up hard. My father-in-law and and my mother-in-law growing up in Watts and stuff, and it's just like their lives were. It was bad. So when my kids say their life's bad,
that's a rough part of town. Wow.
Yeah. When they say my kids say their life's bad or they have it tough, then I have to remind them sometimes. They don't do it no more. They realize. But you know what we did? Yeah. We would take them over there and show them where our parents grew up and how they grew up. We were always been transparent about that because I always felt like they had to know. Like and it wasn't just what we did. It was what the Lord did in our life. You know what I mean? Right. Like, look at how far we've come in 2 generations. It's come a long way, and thankfully the Lord saved us, because look at the trajectory where we were going. Yeah. We were going nowhere. Exactly. I'm pretty sure you probably think the same thing for your kids and your grandkids.
Yes. I mean, one thing I do know, and my best advice to give to any young parents, your kids will do as you do, not as you say.
Yep.
And I had this, again, I have 5 boys, 2 girls, and it scares me now because my boys are kind of like me, and they've been in a few street fights, and I keep saying, you're not in my days, you got to change this attitude, and my one son said, Dad, we've seen you fight before. I've gotten in a fight twice in front of my boys, and I regret it now because they've gotten in fights, and I tell them, you got to stop that, man. You know what? You're somebody's going to take you out, because especially they know all my sons fought, and especially they know that if you're a boxer, they're just going to eliminate you. So I see that now. They don't do as you say; they do as you do. And that was a big wake up call. And there's a lot of things same with my daughters, you know. So yeah, my best advice is if you're gonna preach it, you got to walk it. You know what I mean?
Right. I think the good thing, and I think I don't know if you shared this I heard you on another podcast, but I think one of the things that I liked about you is that you admitted you weren't a good father in the early years, and I think a lot of people are not willing to say, you know, hey man, I sucked in the early years, but I made a change, because I think they think their kids, you know, you're your kid's father till the day you die.
That's right.
Right. So if you live the first 15, 20 years of their life and you were a horrible dad and a horrible example, but the remainder 20 years, you made the change, I think in the end, they're probably going to remember the change that you made. They're going to remember the initial stuff, the early stuff. But I think they're going to say, but there was a point in time where my dad made a change, and from then on out, he was a good man. I think a lot of people just go, well, I sucked as a dad. That's just the way it is. Maybe your mom for a lot of years maybe just said, out of bitterness, out of pride, just to say, I'm not gonna make the change.
And to me, that's pride. And there, you know, God hates pride, bro. And I just seen another podcast the other day. I forget who it was, man, but he says, in our sons and our children's eyes, the first 10, 15 years we're their heroes, and then in the middle of their lives we're their villains. Because we're telling them, hey, you can't do this, you can't do that. And then in the last part of your life, as they had grow up adults, is like, hey, my dad's not perfect, and I'm not either. And, you know, I love this man for what he's done. I'm hoping my sons are saying now, you know what, my dad's he fears God, he loves us, and I hope they see me as that, you know?
Yeah. I think that's key, man. I think a lot of people that made maybe some mistakes in their parenting, could see that and say, hey man, like I can make a change. Like I can show my kids. I think a lot of parents, especially men, fathers, they give up. They say, I'll never give up.
Yeah. I mean, my oldest son is 40, Ray Jr., and he's had great life experience, crazier than mine. He was in the war, 2 tours in Iraq, infantry. And you know what? He's seen stuff that I've never even seen. And you know what? I still call him today, and I still kiss him today. And all my children, you know, and am I a perfect father? Far from it. But one thing I can say is I talk to them godly, and I give them godly advice, and I'm their father before I'm their friend. And that's the best advice I can give to any man is be their father, you know, before you're their friend. And then it mixes together as they get older, you know. Yeah.
It's good stuff, man. Let's go back a little bit. So going back to you getting in trouble, going to youth authority, what was that like in those days, man?
Oh, those are my gladiator days, bro. I got to brag on that. You know what? Because youth authority was back in the 80s and mostly all the 80s.
Kill or be killed.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
It was all toe-to-toe, too. There was no knives, especially in YTS. When you went to YTS, that was like the Pelican Bay of the 70s. That was like Pelican Bay of youth authority. Excuse me. And when you hit YTS, you pretty much arrived. But it was all fisticuffs there, you know. And I lost a few and won a lot there.
Who are you fighting? You fighting other Hispanics? You fighting blacks? You fighting white? You fighting everybody?
Well, I could say it now, and that's no disrespect. If anything, I'm giving them credit. You know, Puente was our arch enemies, and mind you, in San Gabriel Valley, and some of the other barrios, they go to school with each other. So they would like, hey, I'll see you after school. But in San Gabriel, we all have our own school. So when we see each other, it was just automatically on. There was no, hey, I'll see you later. It was just on. So in youth authority, it was the same thing. You know, you ran into them, it was on, you know. But my biggest, to toot my own horn, is I got socked up by Danny Maya from Puente. And I always give him credit because he deserved it. Danny Maya from Puente, Rama Street. He gave me just an old-fashioned whooping, you know, toe-to-toe. We went at it. I must have hit this guy with everything, bro. And he just walked right through it, you know. But 2 weeks later, you know, I'm still, you know, walking with pride. You know, hey, I fought him, I lost. 2 weeks later, I'm in the kitchen, and one of his homeboys comes in and starts telling me, you know, when I get a chance, I'm going to F you up and this and this and that. And here comes Danny going through the chow hall. And I'm telling him, you know, well, when I see you, you know, when we get to trade line or whatever, you know where I'm at. we'll get a handle. And Danny tells him, hey, yes, sir. He tells his homeboy, he goes, watch out, that fat vato can fight. You know what I mean? So I don't know if that was a disrespectful. Even though he said that fat vato can fight, it was a double-sided coin. He gave me a compliment.
Is that a compliment or not a compliment?
You know what I mean? Because I was always a chubby guy, So, but because through all the boxing, I looked at him like I didn't know whether to say thank you or F you. You know what I mean? But yeah, that was YTS was a rough place. So,
how long were you there?
I was there 3 years.
Oh,
3 years.
Was that your formidable years? Like, was that like mid-teens where you just?
I got there when I was 16, and I didn't leave till I was like 18. Yeah.
You went straight back to the neighborhood?
Oh yeah, man. I felt like I was God's gift to gangbanging. You know.
So explain to people out there when you go to jail, to prison, YTS, when you go to those places and you come back out to the neighborhood, it's unfortunately it's like a badge of honor, right?
Oh yeah, you get on street. I guess they call it now street credit, street credibility. You know, you're one of the fellas. You're respected. You're held with respect, and then especially if they hear good things. Where I got the pluses is where I had two older homeboys that were actually counselors in YTS. So they would always go out and brag about me, you know. So I had that credit already getting out, you know. And we're a small neighborhood. We're surrounded by enemies. So when you go to youth authority or prison, you're surrounded by minimum. When I was in Soledad, there was 31 guys, 31 enemies on the yard. And I was the only one in my particular yard. That's how much there's Puente, Flores, Baldwin Park, you know, and they all get along. They don't get along now, but in those days they did.
Oh, so they all got along back in those days?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so it was like.
So they had a common enemy, which was Bassett?
Bassett.
Wow.
Because they're all surrounding us. To get to each other, they got to go through us, and that's where all the problems would happen. So it was rough.
This is like The Warriors.
Yeah.
Have you seen that movie, The Warriors?
Oh, yeah. It was rough, bro.
Shit,
it was rough.
Man.
You know, it took I'm not going to lie, even though I had some good fights in youth authority, there was times I don't want to go out to the yard, you know. I can admit that now, you know, as an older man, but you'd go out to the yard and it just was nonstop. If it was in Baldwin Park, it was Puente. If it wasn't Puente, it was Flores, you know. And then they'd have allies that they'd want to get on board, you know. So it was rough, bro. It was rough.
You know, a lot of people come in here, and not even in here, but I shouldn't say that come in here, but a lot of people go on podcasts. And it's a big thing now. You probably see everywhere. It's kind of like the neighborhood, and it's not about being proud of where you come from. It's almost like a prideful thing where it's a little braggadocious.
Yes,
it's something to brag about, right? And they go in there and they almost glamorize that life a little bit, right? It's like, oh, I went here and this, and everybody was a star on the yard. Nobody took no losses, right? Nobody was afraid, you know, to come out, you know, and so everybody's like bragging all the time, bro. And I'm just like, I wish somebody would just say like the truth, like, yeah, I took some L's. Yeah, I was afraid to come. Yeah, I was beat up, and yeah, I got jacked up because everybody's like, I did this, I did that, and I'm always like, that's not the reality. And we shouldn't glorify it either. Yeah. You know, and you're right. On my podcast, and I, you know, when you asked me to be on here, I was honored because you don't glorify that either. And this is where I think we shouldn't glorify, and as Christians, we shouldn't turn our testimonies into braggamonies, you know? Because, again, there's a lot of cowards in prison. There's a lot of cowards in the neighborhood. And there's a lot of tough guys in the neighborhood. And there's a lot of tough guys in prison. But you know who's a tough guy? That guy that's serving God, going to work every day and supporting his family. Because, like Kilroy said, you know, it takes a bigger man to get up every morning, go to work, feed his family, and do the right thing. Anybody can pick up a gun, go rob and steal. Or you know, and this is why, going back to what you're saying about losses and being afraid, a lot of times I was afraid, bro. A lot of times I was afraid. And you know what? I will never lie or exaggerate because I know I got homeboys that really know me. So if I come up here and say, oh, I did this, I did that, like, come on, Holmes, you didn't do that, eh? And you know what? I'm not a killer. I've never taken nobody's life, and I thank God for that. So you're never going to hear me say, oh, yeah, I killed this vato, I stabbed that vato, or this guy. You know. When I hit Soledad, bro, I was petrified.
I was terrified.
How old were you when you went to Soledad?
18. I was 3 months out of youth authority. When you walk into Soledad, bro, it's 5 tiers high. I just like, I don't know if I wanted to do this after all. You know what I mean?
And the reality is not like the movies where Popeye goes up to the baddest dude and fires him up and nobody messes with you, right? There's
no fighting in there, bro.
Right.
The first day I was in Soledad, I got stabbed. The first day, I wasn't even on there an hour, bro.
You talk about being afraid.
Talking about a wake-up call,
right?
Brother. I almost wanted to raise my hand like, whoa. Let's make a rewind here. I didn't sign up for this. You know what I mean?
Do I get the 1 week orientation here?
Yeah, something, man. But it just,
Who stabbed you? Why did they stab you?
Well, when I went to the reception center in Chino, some guy had some smut on it. I don't even know what it was. Anyways, I was in the reception center with a homeboy. He left some drugs on his pillow. He was getting paroled in a week. So when the cops came in and found the drugs, he's going home. I still had 3-year sentence. I go, they were my drugs. They're not his. I straight out said that. Go home, bro. Go home, homeboy. So they threw me in the hole. Anyways, when I got to the hole, a big shot caller was the tier tender, which he's the one that sweeps and everything. And he comes up to me, and they had the old time cells, bars. And he straight up walks up to me and says, "Hey, Popeye," he already knew my name, knew me. I didn't know who he was. He goes, "You're going to Soledad. I seen your transfer papers. You're going to Soledad. When you get there, you let everybody know this guy's no good." This guy's literally standing like 5 feet away from us. Just
the guy he's telling him.
Yeah.
I mean, he's saying this guy's no good. He's telling him right in front of his face.
Yeah, right in front of his face. And the guy's not even saying it. He's just looking at me. And I just like, he was a youngster like me, 18 years old. I think we were 18, 19.
Man.
And I just like, all right.
So you're in the mix.
I'm in the mix already. Well, I ain't going to say who he was, but you probably know who he was, that guy that was sweeping the tier. But anyways, so, no problem. Me being a youngster, gangbanger, I got orders. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So I get to Soledad. This guy, I went on a Wednesday. This guy got shipped out on a Monday. So he got there on a Monday. I got there on a Wednesday. About 3 p.m, I come walking out with my clothes. They tell me what tier I'm in. And the first person I see walking out to the yard is this guy that I'm supposed to tell that he's no good. So,
he's already waiting.
Yeah, he's waiting. He's looking at me, mad dog. He's with like 6, 7 dudes. And, I didn't think nothing. I kind of mad dogged him. And looking back or days later, I found out they obviously told him, you need to hit him before he goes and pulls your covers.
Whoa.
So that's exactly what happened. He came up to me and he hit me. He hit me with a welding rod in the back of my neck and in the elbow. I was in shock. Me get stabbed.
First
day. And then the guys from San Gabriel Valley, guys from Puente and Belinda Flats, they come up to me, "What's your problem?" I said, "What'd you get hit for?" They're ready to hit me. And I'm saying, "Hey, I got a message to tell so-and-so, and I don't like to get into that, to tell the main guy that this guy's no good." So I'm bleeding like a stuck pig. They didn't care. It's an ugly world. They just go, "All right, go tell him." So I went over there and I told him, "Hey, this guy, I was told by so-and-so that this guy's no good." So he comes back to me and he finds out, "Well, you got stabbed. So why did he stab me?" I go, "Well, obviously he's trying to get me from telling the message, man." This whole time I want to say, "Can I go to the hospital?
Yeah.
Can I do somebody help me here?" Nobody cared, man. Nobody cares. It's a bunch of lions. Just you know what I mean? So anyways, make a long story short, he goes, "You know what? That big shot caller says you're going to live, man. Relax." In the meantime, my neck's swelling up like a big pig here. So I go to my tier. A couple of Southerners, tend to me, They asked some medical guy that worked in the medical to bring me back a tetanus shot. So they gave me a tetanus shot, but I kept bleeding through the night, Not bad, just constant drip. Anyways, the Southerners from that tier came up to me and said, "Hey, if you don't handle this in the morning, we're going to handle you." So I took that very disrespectful in the same time, I'm going to handle it, but don't threaten me like that, So I had it from both sides, and I had a choice to either lock it up or do what I had to do. So the next morning,
What do you mean by lock it up for the people out there?
Well, lock it up. I could have told the cops, "Hey, I've been stabbed,"
and then you're done.
You're done. They would have locked me down, And if I didn't tell, they would have kept me in protective custody. And I go, no, I take that back. They wouldn't have kept me. I never was in protective. They would have just said, you're going to the hole and then you're going to go to protective custody. And that wasn't an option, you know, because of my brothers, because of my neighborhood, because of my pride.
Because you wouldn't be able to go back.
No, I wouldn't be able to go back. And so the next morning I went out to the yard and this fool was waiting for me, man. This fool was like, bring it on, man. So you know what? I brought it on and I did what I had to do. Almost took his life, you know. But thank God, 6 months later, he lived. He went to the hospital, but he lived. But I attacked him. At the same time, within a week, I came back out on the yard and I was like held with the utmost respect. So it kind of like, wow, this is the life, you know. But within weeks, I seen it was, like I said, it's just a bunch of lions, just. Everybody, you're just waiting.
You don't have no friends, right?
There's no friends.
You have nobody's your true friend. You're always constantly watching your back, no matter what you do, right?
That's right.
Because what you did yesterday was yesterday, but today's a new day.
And another guy, another story's gonna come, another stabbing's gonna happen, and you could be running with your best friend on the yard, you know, supposedly your best friend, and if you're told to take care of him, you're gonna do it, and if you don't do it, you're gonna get taken care of, you know. And I didn't like that. I was used to youth authority where, hey, you know, let's get him up, let's fight. We fought, hey, I beat him down, he beat me down, whatever the case. And that was it. But here they were playing for keeps. And I just wasn't, that, again, I don't want to brag or anything, but that just never interested me to take somebody's life, even the enemy, you know, even though there was a lot of killing happening in the 80s, it just didn't interest me to take somebody's life, you know.
What do you think that was?
I don't know, bro. I didn't know the Lord, so it couldn't be in that. But I think now God had a plan.
God had a plan for you.
God had a plan because, mind you, my older brother Peter did 35 years straight. 35 years straight. I can't even imagine that, bro. He did 35 years like straight for murder.
Lifetimes.
Yeah, for a murder, and then he got more involved in there. And he finally got out, thank God. And you wouldn't even know he spent a day in jail. He's serving God and just working, you know. But it just killing didn't interest me, you know. Killing just didn't interest me.
So when you go to the prison, real prison, yeah. and you're there, what is did anybody give you any advice? Did anybody say, hey, Papa, when you get there, this is what you have to do, or this is how you have to act? Are you just figuring it out as you go? No, I mean, it's kind of a... it's different than county jail and YTS. It's different than all that. When you go there, it's a whole nother ball game, right? In a sense, still the same people call the shots from the county to there. You know, it's the same thing. There's only one element that the Southerners listen to, and I won't even speak on that. But they call the shots, and you're going to do as they say. And if you don't do it, you're going to get taken care of, bro. And you know, being 18, fresh out of youth authority, I was like, hey, I've arrived, you know. But then getting stabbed the first 45 minutes I was there, I was like, whoa, wait up here. I didn't plan this one, you know? That's crazy, too. I don't think I've ever... And I'll be honest, bro. Heard that before. I was terrified. I was petrified. I think I was more scared that I was going to die because the way my neck got so swollen, and I thought I was going to get an infection. But then I knew... when I had to take care of this issue the next morning, I thought to myself, walking out there knowing I'm going to attack another human that way, I thought to myself, if I take his life and I get caught for it, I'm going to do the rest of my life, which my brother was already doing 15 to life, which I didn't want. Wow. It's fun when you get it, when you get arrested, come out, you're the cool vato with the girls, you're the cool homeboy. That's fun. You know, that stupid lifestyle was fun. But him being down 35 years, that wasn't me. You know, where's the fun in that, you know? There's a lot of people that can't live without that life. Thank God for your brother Peter changed his life. God changed his life. He found direction. But there's a lot of guys that do a lot of time, and then they get out, and they just can't live out here. I can't. You know what, brother? I just can't. And to me, some people say they're institutionalized. No, let's just be men. They're even if you say, that's what my brother said. I want to. He goes, I'm done with that life. Yeah, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to deal with it.
And 35 years straight, 12 of those his last 2 years he was in San Diego, but 12 of before the last years were in Pelican Bay. 12 years, bro.
Which is the worst.
Is the worst because you're locked down 23 hours a day. And if something's happening, you'll be locked down for 2-3 days because something's happening. You know?
How do you not go insane?
You know what I mean? And mind you, funny story. After the stabbing in Soledad, we got into a fight with some Northerners, you know. No disrespect to them, some Northerners. We all went to the hole. So they gave us a 40-day stench in the hole. I was there 43 days, bro. I was banging on the cell. Hey, man, did you guys forget about me? Let me out. Man. Now, mind you.
What is the hole like?
You're just sitting in there, bro. Doing nothing. Doing nothing. And the crazy part about it, that was in Tehachapi. And the crazy part about that, it's the old-time cells. Now they have doors with the little windows, but in the hole there, it was just old-time cells. And when you get an hour out on the tier, your enemies are literally walking up and down, and you're literally talking to them about football, about boxing, but yet if this gate opens, I got to attack you, or vice versa, you know. And I just thought that was funny.
What a crazy life, man.
You know, you're literally that close away, and you're just talking about life, bro. But if this gate opens, I got to attack you. But again, going back to being in the hole, it just stressed me out, you know. And then I can't even imagine my brother being in Pelican Bay 12 years like that. That drive me bananas, bro. But they actually said that Pelican Bay is there to break you. And I know it would have broken me, bro, because I wasn't a good guy doing time, though, you know. I was that dumb guy that always had a calendar in his wall, you know what I mean? Nobody wants to see a calendar.
You're counting the days to get out?
Counting the days, you know.
How much time did you end up doing your whole life?
Total, from the kid, about 13 years.
13 years.
Yeah. That's nothing. Nowadays, you got guys doing way more than that. But going back to what you're saying, I don't believe, in my opinion, I don't believe, I'm institutionalized. No, you either choose, you choose. I have two homeboys that got out doing 10, 15 years, and they were big hitters, you know. And they've been out 10, 11 years, and they don't even go to the neighborhood. I see them every now and then. I talk to them on the phone, but they just go, I'm done with that life, bro. Yeah. So what about them?
Right.
You know what I mean? They chose. You just got to choose.
You got to choose what you're going to do. And I think it goes back to what you said. And it's the classic, I know Kilroy said that, and R.I.P. Kilroy, I always wanted to get him on the podcast. Yeah. But even in Bronx Tale, right?
Yeah.
What does he say? He goes, your dad's a tough guy. Try getting up every day and going to work. That's the real tough guy. And I think about that all the time, man, because I don't think it's institutionalized. I think it's priorities. Yeah. You're afraid of the priorities more than you are of going to jail. Because let's be honest, if you go to prison, you can get your life taken, but you don't have to pay meals, you don't have to pay no bills.
Dentist.
Your lady's not bothering you. The kids are not bothering you. You don't got to wake. I guess you got to wake up when they tell you to, but you got a program. People are telling you what to do. Yeah. Maybe that's part of that, right? Where you get like, I don't know, man. It gets wild, but it is possible.
That's right.
It is possible. And I think another key is not going back to the neighborhood, right?
It's your surroundings.
How can? Yeah, I think.
If you want to still hang around with, birds of a feather flock together, brother.
Because you're going to get in trouble again, right?
Even me and you, if we go hang out with dope fiends, eventually we're going to do dope, bro.
Yeah.
Even God says, even our Bible says, you can't go into darkness because darkness will overcome us. You can't go hang out with a bunch of drug addicts and keep trying to preach the word to them and keep doing it every day and they're not listening. Eventually, they're going to drag you back in, man. You know what I mean? And this is where my pastor, David Rosales, even says, sometimes we can't preach to or tell the gospel to some people that are not serving God because to them it's stupidness.
Right.
But you know what? They won't read the Bible. They'll read us. And that's where we'll convert them into believing in our God, you know?
That's true. How did you finally find the Lord, man?
Well, I've been a truck driver since '92, and I was doing speed almost every day, bro. I was doing speed every day.
For some reason, bro. I think that's common for a lot of truck drivers, right? Because they drive
long
time, right?
And that's really what we do. We go to the yard, and before we start our route, everybody gather, and even management knew it. We gather and do our líneas, and then we'd start off. But it got to the point where I was doing it every weekend. Then I had a homeboy that was a cook, so I used to get it, pretty much free. And I was just doing it every weekend. And I did that for like 26 years, every weekend, bro. Man. And my wife kept telling me, stop. You got to stop. Stop. Towards the last year before I stopped, I was 45 years old. She was telling me, if you don't stop, I'm going to leave you. And one day I came home on a Friday. I always work graveyard. I came home Friday. I just picked up. And I did my líneas. I was coming home. She goes, you know what? That's it. I'm done. I'm taking the boys and leaving. I had 3 boys with her, and they were all little ones. And she did, bro. She took them. And you know what? I begged her. Babes, don't. Why? I work. We own a house. Why can't I get high? I'm not hurting nobody. And she just left, bro. And
Did you think you weren't hurting nobody, but now looking back, who were you hurting?
I was hurting everybody, including myself, but mostly all my family. You couldn't see that, huh? You just saw the house, food on the table. I just felt it was my right.
I'm doing more than my dad or my mom did for me.
Yeah. I never had a dad, so with that said, I just said, I work, I pay my bills, we pay our bills, everybody's eating. Why can't I actually told myself, I can't imagine living without doing drugs. It just was a...
Were you always into drugs, even when you were in the neighborhood, or it just came after?
When I got out of prison, I did my first line of cocaine, and
that's crazy, man.
It just set me off, bro. And then we discovered the speed thing in the early '80s, and I was hooked on speed. And the speed was just, I was addicted to it, bro. Mentally, I didn't shoot it up. I snorted it, but I did it every weekend. And when Thanksgiving started, I'd start on Wednesday, because of that vacation.
4-day weekend?
Yeah, the 4-day weekend, And it was all good. The wife, hey, just don't bother me, But as I got older, she's, hey, you got to stop. The boys are seeing the difference in your attitude, It's like anything. When you're on it, you're a happy camper. When you can't get it, I'm angry. I'm a grouch, Wow. So that day when she left, as God is my witness, and this is where I knew God was real. She left. The house was empty. I was going 100 miles an hour. It must have been 1 or 2 in the morning. I haven't slept. And I just got on my knees, bro. As God is my witness, I said, you know what, God? Bring me back my wife and my kids. And I promise I'll stop doing this, and I'll give my life to you, and serve you. And as God is my witness, 26 years, every weekend, and starting at some days, like I said, on Wednesdays, if there was a holiday, I went cold turkey, brother.
Wow.
Cold turkey.
Just like that.
That's heavy to me. To me, that is...
God delivered you like that.
Like that, bro. Did I struggle as far as wanting it? Yeah. But I never touched it after that.
Man.
And you know what? That just... Now, when I'm on my high horse, I look at speed addicts, it's like, what are you doing? But then I humble myself. I say, you know what? I was there, But yeah, going back to that, I just like, that was gone, bro. Because, again, 26 years, doing it every day, just, man, bro.
Functioning.
Yeah.
I was
a functioning addict, yeah.
Man.
I tried that one on my wife, babe, but I work, you know what I mean? She, I don't care. You know what I mean? So I think
there's a lot of people like that, though.
Yeah,
there's a lot of people like that live like that.
But that's an ugly way to live. Bro. That's an ugly way to live. When I look back now,
so many things you don't remember or you lost. Yeah,
I lost out on, and I know I never hid it from my kids that I did do drugs, but it just, to me, I justified it like that. I'm not hiding it from nobody. I take care of business. I pay bills. We have a house. We have 2 cars. What's the big deal?
Man,
but drugs are the devil, man. It's the devil, bro.
It's a big problem everywhere. Every even young people starting with the weed and everything, and everybody thinks it's fun, and then it gradually you got to continually do more to get high, right?
Well, there was a funny saying back in the day. I did more speed to work more hours to buy more speed. It just was a never ending. You know what I mean?
Continues never ending circle.
Never ending circle, bro.
Man.
And I missed out on so many. Even though I was an active father with my kids and boxing and football, I really wasn't there, bro. I really wasn't there because if I wasn't high, I was angry, you know? So I always had to be high, bro.
Man. So you give your life to the Lord.
Amen. Serving God ever since.
Is it hard? Are people not believing you? Because this is Popeye again. And now you're trying to be a Christian.
Nobody's ever questioned me about it, but, that it is what it is. That's my testimony. I mean, brother, as a Christian, you're always going to have those people that doubt you or expect you to walk on water. But like I say, man, it's not like our Bible says is when you face trials, look upon me. It didn't say if you face trials, it's when you face trials.
Yeah.
And believe me, we face trials, bro.
Let you know that this podcast is brought to you by Elevate Ministries. Elevate Ministries is an authentic, passionate, and innovative church in the heart of Orange County, California. They strive to make their services welcoming and encouraging by intentionally engaging you in all senses to stimulate a spiritual hunger. If you're looking for a great church that's on a mission to change the world one person at a time, I encourage you to check them out at www.elevateministries.com and on Instagram at Elevate Ministries. My favorite scripture, John 16:33, man. I tell you this thing so that in me you will have peace. In this world you will have trouble.
Yes.
So when I'm having trouble, I quote that scripture to myself, but take heart, I have overcome the world.
That's right.
So God, I mean, he tells us straight off the bat, like, hey man, you're going to have problems, but trust me, I have overcome the world. If you stay with me, I got you. But
that's right.
You're going to have to go through a few things. So what's the save Popeye like, man?
You know what? The save Popeye like is I try to get up no, I don't try, but I do. That's one thing I think I got that from jail. I'm very routine.
Yeah.
Very routine, man. I wake up 3 a.m., whether I'm working or not. I read my Bible, put my earphones on, go to the gym, whether it's the boxing gym or 24-hour fitness, and that's how I start my morning off, I just got to get into the word, bro. And my boxing, professional fighting, and not to brag, but more to say where I grew up, I've been all over the world. All over the world. Who would have think me growing up uneducated in the barrio, and again, it's not to brag, it's just to saying God had a plan, you know what I mean? And God has a plan for everybody that's serving him. But, I see on Instagram and I'm on that, and it's a touchy subject sometimes. I got to watch myself where I go with that. And when I see, hey, get back on track, But we have a lot of, and I'm not being judgmental, I'm just calling it for what it is. We have people saying, oh, yeah, I'm serving God, I'm great. And in the very next page, they're taking shots or using foul language or, you know what? Like Kilroy said, you know what? If I get arrested today, where's the evidence if I'm serving God? You know what I mean, if there's no evidence, bro, then there's something up. Something's wrong, So, I mean, and God said he don't want us lukewarm or, you know what I mean? He wants us hot for him, And again, I drop the ball every day. I fall short of the glory of God every day, but I get up and I think that's what gives us, you're serving God when you have conviction. If you don't have any conviction, then that's how you're going to present it, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I know it's harder for youngsters than me as an older dude, because I got a couple of youngster homeboys that I accepted the Lord, Ray, and the very next thing they're taking shots or,
you can't be halfway in, man.
Can't be halfway in.
I think that's one of the things that, like, if you got something positive from the neighborhood and that prison life and doing what you have to do, it's like you can't half step it.
And it's funny you say that because those particular ones that are from the neighborhood, I go, it's like the neighborhood homes. You got to put the work in.
Right.
If you don't put the work in, I always used to call them first string, second string, and third string. I'd see a homeboy that he was just a hang around. He's a third string, bro. He don't put no work in. I didn't mess with him. There was some homeboys that messed with him, and then there was a second string. He was there every now and then, but he kind of laid back. And then there was a first string, you know?
Right.
And you know what? I want to be a first string Christian. I want to be a first string Christian. And every morning I try to do that. You know, no disrespect to my wife. I love my wife, man. But before I came here, the devil was attacking us. We were bumping heads. And you know what? Before I got off the car right now, brother, I prayed. I said, you know what, Father God, if I said anything wrong to my wife, I'm sorry, you know, and I text her, man, because she didn't answer my call.
She's a real one.
That's right. I just go, I'm sorry, baby doll, and I love you, you know?
Yeah.
Because she's my rock. You know, God, I keep my eyes on God, but I got to be a good husband. And to be a good Christian, you got to humble yourself.
Yeah.
Whether you think you're wrong or right, you know, and that's hard, bro. That's hard,
I think that's huge, man, because, you know, the Bible says to love your wife like Christ loved the church.
Yeah.
Man.
That's hard, bro.
That's yeah.
My brother Peter, 35 years, 12 years in the Bay. I mean, he was a big shot in there, bro. He got married 3 years ago, and he tells me about 2 weeks ago, I didn't think it was going to be this hard. I go, welcome, brother, welcome. You know what I mean?
Who's the big shot now, man?
That's right.
You know what I mean? Marriage is the most blessed thing, but it's the most humbling thing.
Yes.
And it's people laugh because in the world it's different, right? In the world it's about me.
Yes.
Me first. You got to think about yourself first. And in marriage, especially under Christ, it's about your spouse.
That's right.
If I fulfill her needs and things she does, and she does it for me, we'll be happy. And you're laying down your life for your wife, you know,
right.
and vice versa. And I think the world is so mixed up all the time. They're opposite.
Yeah.
Take care of yourself first.
What am I going to get out of this marriage?
Yeah, what am I going to get out of it? But that's not God's intention. His intention is, hey, you serve one another, and it'll be good.
Yeah.
And not that it'll be easy, 'cause it's not easy, but it's very rewarding. It's very it's a good thing once you start learning those keys.
26 years, bro. So
Nice.
You know,
29 last week, bro.
There you go. God's good, bro.
Man.
You know what I mean?
I wasn't always the best husband.
That's right.
You know what I mean? But
your intentions were right?
my intentions were right. Yeah, I guess we could
So
say
I
that.
told our Liam babes, but you know what I meant, right? Okay.
Yeah, that's our bailout right there.
Yeah.
I didn't mean it that way.
Yeah.
But I think you know, I wasn't always the best husband, like you said. But we're all working our way to that, and
That's right.
and I'm better than I was 5 years ago. I'm better than I was last year.
That's
so
right.
I mean, hey man, that's all. That's the same thing with our salvation.
A little quote from Kilroy before he passed. I went to go visit him like a week before he passed away. He goes, you know what, Popeye? Everybody always says, I was, you know what organization he was from, and he goes, my Christian walk might not be where it should be, but I thank God it's not where it used to be.
Right.
And I just, that stuck in my mind, you know. And he passed away like a week later. But man, he was such a blessing. You know, he left with a good name.
He did.
You know, and that's hard in that.
My Uncle Woody was close to him too. He would have him minister at his church, and he knew him, and I was trying to work that out. But man, he passed. It would have been good to have him on.
So you know, when he said that to me, I like, that's heavy, bro. I'm gonna use that one. Use that one.
That's good, man. So you turn your life over to Christ. And then you get into boxing refereeing.
Yeah.
Right? Now, how did that come about?
Because I couldn't fight, No, you know what? When I finally knew at I think I was 37, 38, I go, man.
Did you have any pro fights?
No. I could never cut my weight down, bro. I always had weight issues. Always, man. And Ben Lira, who trains my son
Danny
now,
Ramos was right. The chubby guy could fight.
Yeah.
But you couldn't cut back.
I could always, if you stood still, I was a good brawler. It's when you moved around, I couldn't get my feet to work with my hands. That's why Mayweather's so good, right? Floyd Mayweather. He knows how to move, and it's a lot of footwork, bro. It's like the MMA guys on Sean Kirkland. He just won the middleweight champion. Strickland, I'm sorry.
Man.
You know, I've been on the mitts with him at Millennium, and he always had good footwork, and this is what I didn't possess. I didn't have good footwork. And going back to me, I knew You know, there's no fighting career for me. So I asked Ben Lira, hey, I want to be a referee, you know. I'd like to try my hand at refereeing. And again, God had a plan. He told me, go in amateurs. For 5 years, I sat on ringside in amateurs. The lady that was in charge never let me referee, bro. Never let me referee.
What
my fault, though.
Oh, your fault.
My fault. I still had one hand in the barrio and one hand trying to be good. I went to a fight, and I went in the restroom, did some cocaine. So I come out of the restroom, and I bump right into her, and she just looks at me, bro. And I just like, what? So I walk, and some guy walks, he goes, Ray, you got a ring around your nose. And I like, oh my God. You know what I mean? It was my own stupid fault. So, you know, 5 years went by. She didn't let me go. So finally I went up to Ben Lear. I go, you know, let me try my hand at professional, you know? So he hooked me up with the right people. And for 1 year, I had to go to training every weekend. 1 year. You couldn't miss or nothing. And out of all those, I think there was 28 of us, cops, judges, district attorneys, were all trying out for this position. I just kept saying, you know what? I'm going to just try it. If it don't happen, at least I could say. I've never been afraid of taking chances, you know? And anyways, at the end of the year, we did like scenarios in the boxing ring. And they said, all right, guys, we'll let you know. We'll send you a letter whether you made it or not. Like 2 weeks later, I'm at the house, and I got the letter. And like a kid going into college, I tell the wife, here, you open it, you know? And it was crazy when she opened it. She goes, babes, congratulations. It said,
wow.
That was crazy, bro. You know what I mean? That was crazy.
How did that change your life, man?
Nothing.
Nothing.
It didn't change me. I still, you know, again, I was a working drug addict, you know, but crazy story. I hope I don't get in trouble for this, but I was on Showtime. Doing a fight, and you know, like Robin Williams says, you know, I was over there chewing gum, and I didn't have no gum because I was wired, you know, and I came home and
got a couple guys at work like that.
You know what I mean? and I got home and Arlene just ripped into me. She goes, what are you doing? Your biggest dream, and you're doing that stuff on TV.
Oh, she saw it?
Yeah.
Oh.
And you know what? I just like, man, but you know, I think it was 2 years later I finally stopped. But
it's so crazy because I'm sure you could identify guys right off the bat, right? But when you're doing the drugs, you think nobody notices, right? It's crazy. I
got it under control. You always think that I'm. It amazes me when somebody's doing drugs and I'm telling, bro, really? Hey, Holmes, I got it under control, bro. You know what? Everything's good. You know, it's like when I've talked to kids, bro, I say, nobody plans. Everybody feels, you know, first of all, if I ever do talk to kids, when the times I have, I always tell them straight out, let me tell you something about drugs. They make you feel good. If you're 5 feet tall, they make you feel 6 feet tall. If you're shy, they make you aggressive. If you're shy with the ladies, they're going to make you cool. If you girls, you want to lose weight, there you go. You know, if your low self-esteem gives you a big self-esteem. But let me tell you the end story. Nobody plans to sell their body. Nobody plans to lose teeth. Nobody plans to get sick. Nobody plans to steal from their children, their mom, their dad. And some of you guys do the sick thing of turning yourself into homosexuals for drugs. Nobody plans that. You know what I mean? So if you want to do drugs, I'm telling you the truth. Don't do it, because it'll always be a monkey on your back.
Man.
But let me tell you how it starts like that. Oh, I got it covered. I'm good. Don't think you're going to be the one guy out of the millions of drug addicts that got it down packed. It's not going to happen.
Never works out.
It never works out, bro. There's no drug addict that actually was a drug addict could actually say, hey, I'm good. No. Even if it comes back to haunt you years later, like me, I got major arthritis. And my mom died at 91 healthy. My dad's still living at 92. And you know what? I'm 60, bro, and I got bad arthritis. That had to be the drugs. And who's to say I got more ailments coming? But so far, I'm healthy as an ox, but my bones are feeling it because that's all that meth I did.
Yeah, you can't
live
that life for that long and not affect you later.
Exactly, bro.
You know?
And I try to tell these kids, you know, and I'm not saying they're wrong, but when they're telling the kids, don't do drugs, kids are curious, bro. Tell them the truth, man. You know what? Drugs make you feel good. That's why people do it. Just
Yeah.
like sin is fun.
Just
for
like
a
the
season.
neighborhood, right?
That's right.
It makes you belong.
It makes you belong,
Be a
but
part of
nobody
something.
plans
Nobody-
for the end story, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it sounds good in the beginning.
That's right.
That's sin, though, right?
That's right. It's fun for a season, bro.
Yeah, it's fun for a little
and then
bit.
the consequences, you know.
Nobody thinks about it later.
That's right.
Man, so you referee. The fight game's a little wild right now. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah.
It's a lot of politics, a lot of different. And you've done some MMA.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you did probably I think was it over 500 fights?
800.
800 fights.
2017, I was the most worked referee in the world, bro.
Okay, when I first seen you, I'll be honest.
Oh, don't.
I don't know what
Don't hurt my feelings,
I don't know
bro.
what fight it was, but I was like, "Who's this homeboy right here?" But I was like, "Props! This dude, this guy looks like somebody I know." You know what I mean? And he's refereeing this fight. I think there was another homeboy referee, right? Isn't it a father son deal? I forgot his name.
Caices.
Yeah. So
He's not a homeboy though.
oh, he's not a homeboy. Oh, so you're the homeboy. You and
Well, I mean, if that's what you want to call me, so be it. But what I mean by homeboy, he's not from a neighborhood.
He's not from the neighborhood.
He grew up
Okay.
he went to Bishop Amaya. He's a good kid, you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I seen you, and I said I could identify with this guy. He looks like my uncles, and he looks like dude from the neighborhood.
The most popular fight I ever did is probably the Mike Tyson Roy
Right.
Jones.
I was getting to that.
Yeah.
So that fight right there is exhibition.
Yeah.
But I would say Roy was hurting after that fight, right? Yeah. Roy, he got hit in the ribs, in the side, and he was hurting. And I told somebody that too, because in the interview after, Roy was breathing hard, and he was kind of like he had his hand right here by his side, and I was like, oh, he got that shot from Mike.
Well, I mean, in my opinion, Roy went in there thinking it was going to be fun playing.
Right.
And Mike's like, no, I'm going to sock you up, boy. And as soon as Mike hit him one time in the side,
Yes,
Roy was on his bike.
I saw that.
It's almost like he was like, hey, bro, what are you doing, man? It's just an exhibition. You know what I mean? And Mike was
for real.
Mike was for
he
real,
was in
bro.
shape.
Yes.
Roy was I mean, we're not used to seeing Roy like that.
Yeah.
Roy was a little out of shape, and I was like, man, you know, and I was like, man, Mike, I don't know, Mike's like in his 50s.
Yeah.
I mean, he looked
He's
great.
10 years younger than me, so
He
he's
looked
50,
great,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, I was just like, man, he looked good.
He's ripped, bro. He's ripped.
Right?
And when I seen Mike prior to the fight, you know, I gave him the instructions and all that. He was cool, but as soon as he got in the ring, bro, I seen his game face. He had that same game face as when he used to fight. And I go, wow, this guy, he's taking it serious. Sure enough, man, he wanted to put hands on Roy. Huh?
I think that's the difference with fighters, right? I've sparred a few rounds with fighters, you know, some kickboxing, you know, my friend Tony in particular, and there's some about those guys when they turn it on.
Yes.
Like you might land a couple shots, but then they throw it into like fourth gear. Yeah. You don't want them
I'm
to get
still
a
in charge
gear, right?
type.
Yeah, and they're like, okay, and then I'm like, oh, what did I just do, man?
Yeah.
I
Somebody ring the bell.
I land a combo and I think, okay, and then for a second I'm like happy because I'm like, oh, that was nice, and then I see like ding, like a little light go off in his head, and I'm like, oh, he's gonna put it on. And he comes like, boom. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, there's a different gear there, right? I mean, for fighters, for boxers, and I think Mike turned that on.
Turned that on, definitely.
Okay, so the boxing game here. Let's talk a little bit of boxing now. When you're refereeing, what is your interpretation or what is your definition of a dirty fighter?
Somebody that follows through with their elbow, uses their head.
Because there's a lot of stuff that I guess the average fan or guy watching on TV don't see. But what are you seeing when he's a dirty fighter?
You know, when he follows through with his elbow, look at an MMA fight, and then look at an a good MMA fighter. Turn that into boxing. That's all illegal. You know what I mean? But they'll follow through with their elbow. They'll use their shoulders. Instead of hitting low to the groin, they'll hit them on the thigh. You know, that's like a Charlie horse, bro. A lot of people think, oh, he didn't hit him in the groin, but he hit him in his thigh. Imagine what that does to you, bro.
Right.
that weakens your legs.
Well, Canelo does that to the shoulder, to the arms all day,
I
right?
won't say I can't speak on any
Any real fighter, but I'm just saying, there's fighters that are known to like let me hit your arms for a few rounds, and by the time you're
that part's not illegal.
That's not illegal. Yeah, that's not
he's just breaking them down.
Right,
You know what I mean?
That's part of the game.
Yeah,
right.
But when you hit to the thigh, that's illegal. Hit to the side of the neck. You know what I mean?
Behind the head?
Behind the head is illegal. Even in MMA, it's illegal.
Have you ever had to stop a fight because it just got too dirty and you took a point away, took another point away, and it's just like, man, you know what?
I think I have one. It was a big fight too. The undercard of it was at the Staples Center. But yeah, this kid from Africa, man, he just didn't want to listen, and he kept hitting behind the head, and then he threw him down. And when I told him, hey, I took a point, then he turned around and did it again. And then when he threw the guy down, he hit him. So I disqualified him. Yeah. But it's just like, I don't know if you ever see on Pritchard Colon, the boxer.
Right.
Pobrecito, he'll never be the same,
Yeah.
And I have ridiculed the referee in that particular fight because I don't know him personally.
That was the one he kept hitting behind the head, right?
9 times.
Me and Cam were talking about that today.
9 times. He hit Pritchard Colon 9 times behind the head. And then when Pritchard Colon, which I tell my sons, when you're sparring, the guy hits you once, maybe twice low, and he still continue, hit him back low. Show him, the same thing. Well, anyways, Pritchard Colon, after the 9 times in one round, hit him back 1 time behind the head. The referee stopped and took a point for Pritchard Colon. And I can go on and say this guy was doing the black card because he was African American, as well as the fighter was an African American. But that's another story. But he should never referee, in my opinion. He took a man's life, and the least, I'm taking your career away. And I don't play because
that's what you're there for, right?
That's right. I don't play. Oh, he's my raza. I don't play that in the ring. I don't play that. I don't care if you're Mexican, black, Chinese, white. I'm going to try to keep you safe, and you're going to abide by the rules. And if you don't, you're going to get disqualified, And I just saw the reason I bring up Pritchard Colon because, my son, Adrian Corona, he's a fighter. He's got 11 fights, 1 loss, 2 draws, 3 knockouts. And I'm always afraid for him when he gets in that ring, And dirty fighters, it always comes back to haunt them, And in my opinion, that's a haunt that you knew better to hit him 9 times, but the referee allowed you to do it. So shame on you, I can't really speak on the fighter, he's got to deal with his own demons. But poor Pritchard Colon, he'll never be the same, He's pretty much, he has to be taken care of for the rest of his life,
It's so crazy because I don't think people, I think they look at the referee as he's third man in the ring. Yeah. He's going to break them up when, they clinch too long or whatever it may be. He separate them. He gives the instruction. That's it. Yeah. But your job is to protect the fighters, to make sure it's a fair fight, and to make sure almost that everybody goes home. Like they might go home beat up, but not on a stretcher.
And that's what I tell when I have a fight out from a 4-rounder to a title fight. I tell the fighter, I'll take you out to deep water, but if I see you're taking too much punishment, you know what? I'd rather you be upset with me tonight than your mom hating me in the morning. So I'm not here to be your friend. I'm here to apply the rules and keep you safe. You know what I mean?
What?
But mind you, real quick, I mean, it's hard being a referee too
because
we got to make that split decision to stop a fight or let it go on. And thank you, Jesus, nobody's been hurt seriously on my fights, but there's been some deaths in boxing. And the reason you do martial arts and stuff, the reason boxers die, not where MMA guys haven't died, and thank God for that, is because boxers get hit over time.
Yeah.
A lot. You're going 10 rounds, 8 rounds, 12 rounds. They're continuously getting hit. And then mind you, when they spar, they spar hard, bro.
That's huge.
A lot of them, the doctors are saying a lot of them come to the fight already damaged. They might have a small bleed in their brain already.
Even like you started 8, 9 years old. If you're talking like
Yes.
25 years, 20 years, you get a title shot and you've been sparring, boxing, and it could be with headgear on, but still, it's still gonna hurt. It's still gonna cause damage over time.
And one thing I do notice with the MMA guys, I go to Millennia here in Rancho Cucamonga. When those guys spar, they can only go 50%.
Yeah.
For the simple fact, you can't kick a guy in the thigh and expect him to go fight the next week, or get him in an arm bar and expect him to go fight the next week, or get him in a chokehold, knock him out for a couple seconds and expect him to go fight the next week. So they go like a 50%. Not to say they're any less or tougher than a boxer. They're both two different sports, but they're both elite fighters, And I wish boxing can somehow take that sparring mentality and do it in boxing,
right?
Because boxers, when they spar before a fight, they're literally sparring hard, bro.
There's some fighters now that say they don't spar as hard anymore.
Well, the only one, like Deontay Wilder,
he
says, I don't even spar before a fight.
Yeah,
but he's a heavyweight, in my opinion. You could do that, but when you're boxing, you only have two tools. Where an MMA guy goes, you know what? I'm mostly a ground guy, so my top game ain't gonna be so much hitting. I'm gonna take him down. That works. But if you're all together like Strickland, he goes there from head. When he beat his last fight, he beat him from the shoulders.
He was awesome, man.
Yeah,
he was awesome.
So, but I wish somehow boxing can take that element from MMA and say, you know what? Let's calm it down a little bit. Let's go 50% if that's possible. Because again, like you just said, 50%, me and you could go 50%, but if I feel you landed something good, I'm going to land it. I'm going to try to land it a little bit.
Let's be honest here, brother. Your 50 is way more than my 50, probably, because your background, the fights that you had. That's what I used to laugh about my friend, because we spar. Yeah. He had a couple of pro fights, but it was funny because we would spar and he was like, let's go 50%. And I go, hold up, man. Yeah. You're teaching me how to fight and how to do jiu-jitsu and some stand-up and kickboxing. But you had pro fights. You spar with a lot of dudes. Your 50 and my 50.
Yeah, two different 50s.
It's like my 50 is your 75%, man. I'm getting my butt kicked over here. But, I think boxing, man, I think it's a beautiful sport. There's been some tragedies. There's been some things. But, I think that's something that can be learned from the MMA. I mean, and whether it's, I think.
Well, let me ask you a quick question. When is this going to be aired?
Probably next week.
Okay, so I can speak on that then.
Yeah.
Who do you think is going to win the fight tonight between Canelo and Charlo?
I think Canelo. And I'm not just saying that because, he's Mexican or anything like that. Yeah. I think Canelo is not the taller fighter, but he's the bigger man.
Yes.
Right? And so
Charlo's coming up 2 weights.
Yeah. And he's taller than him.
Yeah.
But I think, you would tell me better than this. I think when you go up a weight class, and I'll say like this, you had him on your podcast, Garcia.
Robert or Mikey?
Mikey Garcia. Yes. Remember when Mikey went up and fought Spence?
Yeah.
Like, Mikey was game, but I think it was 2 weight classes, man. It's a bigger guy, and Mikey was totally game. But I think when he fought Spence, I was like, and I'm a big Mikey fan, man. Yeah. We used to go to the same barbershop out in Riverside, and so I think, I think that's going to be the difference right there.
And in my prediction, because I can only talk about past fights, so when this comes on, it'll be past. I think Canelo can win only by knockout, and I think Charlo can only win by points.
From the outside, right?
Yes.
Yeah, if they get in the inside, it's going to be tough for him.
Yeah, because again, Canelo's used to that way where Charlo's not.
Right.
And if he takes him out to longer rounds, I think it's to Canelo's advantage. So
I'm not saying Charlo can win. I think if he stays from the outside, he's a longer fighter. I think he's a longer fighder.
Outwork him, box. You know what I mean?
He might be. He's faster than him, right?
Yeah,
way faster than him, right? But I think I'm hoping for a good fight, man.
Yeah, I hope so.
I'm hoping for a good fight. I think they're both game. We'll see. I mean, that's the worst thing about the boxing game, man. When they just don't go at it. I haven't really seen. You don't see those. You talked about the '80s and those fighters and in those days where it's just like, okay, so one of us is going down. The classic Hagler Hearns fight. You know what I mean? Where it's like somebody's gonna get knocked out right now. I mean, you don't get that too often. You think that's because just the money's so huge? And we talked about the 135, 140. Those guys don't fight each other too much because do you think they want that one big payday? If they get the loss and they're the back of the bus?
I think everybody's just looking for that payday, you know? Everybody's looking for that payday. I mean, it's just the world we live in now, you know? And sometimes the promoters that I know of, I'm not going to pay you those crazy dollars to fight the champion, you know? So we'll fight this guy for less, you know? It's about the mighty dollar, you know?
Yeah.
You know, but like going back to Ben or going back to any fighter, who has he fought? Well, you know, if you're building a fighter, you got to pick and choose your fights. It's not so much that the guy's a tomato can because it takes huevos to get in the ring, you know?
Yeah.
And one punch can change the whole fight. But you got to build your fighter. You got to. My son Adrian has had 11 fights, all guys with better records than him, and you're building them. But do they have big knockout records? No, they don't. And that's how you're building them. They have more experience, but they're not big punchers. So you're building a fighter, you know. And as time goes on, Adrian will start fighting, bigger guys. His last guy, he went 8 rounds hard, and that guy just lost to Jojo Diaz and went 12 rounds hard. So that was a step up for my son to fight him, you know.
Yeah. So, I think perfect example is the Vargas brothers.
Yes.
Right? Fernando Vargas' sons. You know what I mean? People are trying to make fun of them. Like, hey, you're not fighting nobody. It's like, bro, they're just coming up.
That's right.
Nobody does that. No, you don't go straight to the top.
And that's why I say some of these guys don't even know boxing. They're saying that. You know, you don't throw them in the lions right away. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got to let them build up to that.
Do you ever like go to somebody's house and watch fights, and maybe there's a guy in the corner and he's talking boxing like he knows what's up, and you're just sitting there going,
yeah. I just stayed quiet.
See, that was my dad, man. We would go places, we would watch a fight, and dudes be trying to drop. I mean, he's a big boxing fan, man. Big boxing fan back in the day. He passed away, but we would go watch the fights at a friend's house or family member's house, and there'd be like somebody that we didn't really know, and they're talking, oh, this and this and that, and my dad would just be like, this guy doesn't even know what he's talking about, man. It's different when you know the game, right? Yeah. It's different. And a lot of people, especially with boxing, any professional sport, you go online, everybody's telling the coach what to do. Everybody's telling the trainer what to do.
What's that old saying? Monday morning quarterback?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I'm sure after tonight's fight, tomorrow morning, there'll be a bunch of people telling us what they should have done.
Yeah. Right? It's not that easy, bro.
No.
It's not that easy, man. It's hard, you know?
So, lastly, man, when you are refereeing a fight, at what point do you say, this is it? You know, like I got to call this. There's a famous meme out of a guy that throws about 9 punches and they all miss, right? And the guy's I have to send it to you. He's bobbing and weaving all the punches, and the ref comes in and he stops the fight, and the guy goes,
Tony Weeks.
You didn't even hit me. You didn't even hit me.
Yeah.
He didn't even hit me. And so he stopped the fight. The guy's mad. I mean, at what point do you really see and you just say, hey, man, you know, his corner's not throwing in the towel. They're not doing anything, and this guy's just getting beat.
Well, I mean, it's like a title fight. If it's 12 rounds and he's been getting beaten for 8, mathematically, he can't win. He's not going to win mathematically. But what if he's still fighting? You know what I mean? He's still in the fight. He just not hurting him, and this guy's just beating him. Those are the hardest ones because I got to stop this guy from his own self, you know? Like, hey, bro, you lost 8 rounds straight.
You're just outclassed.
You're just outclassed, but you're still in the fight. You're still fighting back, but you're just getting beat down. And it bothers me that his corner won't stop it. But we know as officials, as a referee, like, I got to save this guy from his own toughness, you know? Those are the hardest ones, you know? But then on the other hand, I don't know if you've seen the Negrete Valdez fight. Mm-mm. You know, this was 2 weeks ago. It was a title fight. Oscar Valdez, a big champion. He fought Negrete, another champion, and Negrete was just beating him to a pulp, bro. And Oscar could not touch him for 12 rounds. And then Oscar's face was just, his whole right side of his eye was just completely shut. That's a hard one. Do I stop it because he's continuously being aggressive, but he's not doing that. I don't think he landed 1 or 2 punches in that whole 12 rounds, man. But he kept coming. He was the aggressor through the whole fight. So I take my hat off to that referee because nothing happened. Valdez is okay. He lost his title. And then there's other times when the guy is just getting beat from pillar to post, as they say. Same with the MMA. He's just getting socked up. He's getting taken down. Somehow he gets out. And you know what? I just got to stop it for the sake of him as in his health, you know? And those are hard decisions, but we got to make those decisions in a split second. And before we get off, I want to tell you guys that criticize our judges.
Oh, here we go.
You know what I mean? Watch a fight, MMA and boxing as well, with no volume, so you don't hear the commentator and you don't get that influence, with no replay, and judge that round, whether it's a 5-round MMA or a 12-round boxing, and judge it 10-9. If there's a knockdown in boxing, 10-8. If it's a pillar to post in the cage, 10-8. And then at the end of the fight, you'll score up the tally, and you'll be surprised that guy that you said didn't win won. But for all these guys that criticize the judges, criticize the referees, what the F was he thinking? What the F is this? They should never work. Man, stop it, bro. Stop it, man.
I think Joe Rogan always says that. He always says, I got to go back and watch this fight with the volume down. My dad used to say that. Like, you can't, because let's be honest, the announcers are a little bit biased sometimes,
man,
right? But if it's on Showtime, they're
should have one of those guys on your show, man. Lock the door and put our headgears on, man. You take them for a ride.
And sometimes it's like, come on, man, what fight are you watching?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? But it's I think that, and then sometimes the punch count, right? The little computer thing, and that doesn't always tell the whole story. You can land a punch and it's not doing nothing to this guy. And I'm not saying that you're not hurting him, you're scoring points.
Yeah.
But this guy's being the aggressive guy. He's landing the harder shots, and I think people, they don't know the fight game. So I think that it's once again it goes back to you just don't know, and you're trying to do the Monday morning quarterback.
Yeah.
Man. Hey, Brother Ray. Thanks for coming out, man.
Thank you for having me, brother.
I have one more thing. Me and Cam have one more thing. It's called the Furious 5.
Uh-oh.
And we ask you 5 furious questions, really quick, and then you can get out of here. Is that cool? A little 5-punch combo right here. You know what I mean? All right, here we go. Let's Furious 5 here. Question number 1 on the Street Gospel Furious 5 for Popeye Ray Corona. You ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. Question number 1. Who's your favorite fighter of all time?
Alexis Aguayo.
Man. He doesn't get talked about as much.
Pobrecito, I met him a week prior to his death.
Really?
Yeah.
Man. One of the greats.
Yes.
One of the greats. Do you think those fighters
amongst others? Amongst others. He's my top pick.
Yeah, he was probably my dad's up there with Alexis Arguello.
Watch him. The 2 fights between him and Aaron Pryor. Great fights, bro.
Pryor cheated on one of those, right? It's a little controversial. Yeah. No. Give me the one I mixed.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Remember that line? I like Alexis Arguello. Bobby Chacon. My dad was all. I met Bobby Chacon one time at the Olympic Auditorium when I went with my dad to watch some fights. He was a little bit jacked up.
Yeah, Pobrecito, he died ugly too, man.
Yeah. Question number 2 on the Street Gospel Furious 5. If you weren't a boxing referee or a teamster, we didn't even get into your teamster, but if you weren't a truck driver, teamster, boxing referee, and you can pick any career, what would it be?
Acting. I probably tried my hand at acting.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I done a couple little extras.
Oh really?
Yeah.
We had a couple actors in here, man. Maybe we'll hook you up with a part.
Well, I was Noel's double on Bruce Almighty.
No way.
Yeah.
Don't tell me that.
Yeah.
You weren't the monkey didn't come out.
That was me, bro.
That was me.
You're lying. Yes, it was.
Oh, you're lying.
It was me.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Because apparently Noel doesn't want to run, so they called me in for that. And then I did another scene where
small world, dude.
I was on the ground in the alley. they didn't show that part, but they paid me for it. I get residuals from that movie too. You know.
Hey, that's cool, man.
Yeah.
I didn't even know. That's funny. Small world.
Bruce Almighty, Daredevil. I was a referee
Really?
in there, and I did a gang of CSI Miami.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a career for you out there.
Oh,
Is there any role you wouldn't play?
gay. I wouldn't play a gay role, bro.
Hey,
You know what I mean?
if you go to Hollywood, man, they make you play that role.
No, I did a little comedy for who's that guy in New York? I forget his name. Anyway, it was a comedy scene. He wanted me to lay down in a jail cell with another inmate as like a comedy. I said, nah, I ain't gonna do that, bro. I go, I got sons, man. I don't want them to see that.
There goes your street cred, bro.
Yeah, there you
Let
go.
me out the
That too,
door.
man.
Somebody be saying, "Hey, Ray, you're playing that a little too close there, bro."
That's right. That's right.
Hey, man. Hey, question number 3 on the Street Gospel Furious 5. Where's the best place to eat in Bassett?
Taco Nazo.
I've been to Taco Nazo.
That's the neighborhood, home.
That's right there?
That's
okay.
Jesse, man. He's big boxing fan, and you know what? He got voted number 1 in Southern California for the best fish tacos.
I'm going to, listen, I've had on this show the Taco God. I'm going to send this guy to you, right? It's my boy. He's been on he's only, him and,
Does he have fish tacos?
he has them all. He's been to every place. So I'm going to hit him up, say, hey, in Bassett, he probably knows that. It's Puente. Taco Nazo.
But don't call it Puente. Call it Bassett.
All right. What's your rating? I'm gonna hit him up, bro. He watches all these shows, man. Good dude. He's been to like hundreds, every single one. He's a white dude too. It's funny, but he's like, nobody can tell me anything because I've been to every place. And I was like, you're right.
Well, there's a lot of Taco Nazos, but the one in Bassett, Jesse runs it. He's the owner. His brothers run the other ones. And I don't know. I've never been to the other ones, but I know Jesse's Taco Nazo in Bassett right there off the 605 and the 10. He was 1 or 2. I might have it on, but 1 or 2 best fish tacos in Southern California.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you could change one thing in your life, question number 4, what would it be?
My jail stuff.
Really?
I didn't miss nothing. I lost time in my life, you know. And the drugs.
No more.
No more. No more, and I wish I would have never done it.
Do you think that those things contribute to who you are today, though?
I guess with God, God's plan, you know, I'm just saying if it was my choice, it just wasted a lot of years, you know,
All right, man. Question number 5. You still got a lot of years ahead of you. Look good. You're in shape.
God willing.
I see you and your beautiful wife on Instagram. You stay busy, work, Teamsters, boxing referee, ministry. What's left for Brother Ray to do?
Just serve God and try to be a positive influence to my children, my grandchildren, and to anybody that wants help, you know. I try to be the best. As a youngster, I wanted to be known as a tough street fighter. Now I want to be known as a godly Christian man. That's all. You know what I mean? And do my podcast.
That's it.
You know?
That's it, man. I appreciate you coming out, bro. Anything you want to shout out, Ray? Somebody, where can they find you? Where can they check you out at?
On Instagram and TikTok, go to Ref Popeye Ray. On my podcast, go on YouTube, Third Man in the Ring or Ref Popeye Ray, and please subscribe. And it's just the look from us, you know, the referees, the officials, you know.
Right.
But yeah, check that out.
And
thank you for being on, for bringing me on, brother.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming through, man.
Yeah.
Great podcast, great guest, man. I saw Shane Mosley on there Fernando Vargas on there. You've had a lot of great guests, and
thank you,
man. Blowing up, bro. Amen. Mikey was on there.
Yeah,
Robert.
I'm gonna have Emilio Rivera, the actor, in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
You know? Once the union thing breaks, you know, I can't have him on until then. You know.
Yeah, I know, man. Hopefully that'll stop for those people and get what they need. Big union guy right here.
That's right. Teamsters.
Appreciate you, bro. God bless you, man.
God bless you. God bless, man. Everybody.
That'll conclude this episode of the Street Gospel Podcast. Check us out, man. Check Brother Ray out, man. We appreciate you guys out there. Subscribe. Send it to your friend. God bless. We love you guys. Peace.